No, it has not been permanently trumped by Trump. It hasn't dragged everybody down into the lower chakras to get everybody fighting and warring with each other is what they want. So it hasn't generated the chaos of the first chakra. It hasn't generated he hasn't been able to lead people effectively into the dialectic of believing that we're all basically at the mercy of terrorists that are attempting to attack us. Neither the first or second chakra has come to dominate us yet. They're working at it, and they've made some advances, but they certainly haven't trumped us on this thing. The other issue is this: is that you remember that all of the chakras up to the sixth chakra are basically functioning. The sixth chakra is just beginning to function in a larger and larger number of people, but it's the matrix of the interaction of the vibrational frequencies of these six chakras that make up the complex, the interface between the vibrational frequencies of each of the six chakras that are sort of functional in the human family right now are what constitute the kind of energy envelope around any given individual. And if you rate the efficacy of each one of the vibrational frequencies of each of the chakras at say 100, if say for example your first chakra is functioning at a 100% level of efficiency and effectiveness, then you're going to get a very, very powerful and dominating effect of your first root chakra. And a person is going to be motivated by a sense of desperation, a sense of separateness from the rest of inchoate reality, that it's the incarnation of a given individual entity as a separate entity, and it's clinging, it's desperate clinging to life as a separate entity that is going to be its principal driving motive. And as you move up to the second chakra, if that chakra is functioning at a 100% level of efficiency and effectiveness, it's going to supplement that original energy field. The two of them are going to interact with each other, and it's going to begin to influence that, so that you don't believe that you're at sea and that you're just as an individual you have to fight to survive and dominate every other individual entity that you encounter in order to survive. What you do is you start to join together in a team, and you set up two teams, a tribe, and you organize in a group to confront the ultimate other. And so that if they're both functioning at a 100% level of efficiency and effectiveness, the two of them will interact with each other, and you'll get some kind of a hybrid of the individual person believing that he or she has to dominate every other person they happen to meet, and you're going to get an interface with the dialectical or bipolar dynamic of the second paradigm or second chakra. And so you're going to get some kind of a hybrid of the two of those interacting with each other. And the same thing is going to happen as you go up the chakra system and you get all the way up to the sixth chakra. The sixth chakra, obviously on a scale of 1 to 100 is probably functioning only at maybe 10, 15% in most people. And so that we've got a ways to go to develop this. The question that was asked is, how can we accelerate this? How can we help in this particular age? And it's known by the basic, what we refer to as spiritual disciplines, that certain very specific activities, we've touched upon them in the past, certain kind of dietary stuff of not eating red meat, not eating high, intense, spicy foods, trying not to stimulate the tactile system of the body so that it drowns out the extremely subtle experience of the activity of the sixth chakra. It's a very high frequency, subtle energy, and therefore, if you engage in intense activity like a lot of sexual intercourse, a lot of heavy drinking, a lot of eating red meat, a lot of physically violent sports, where you're actually indulging the lower chakras energy, what it does is it drowns out the subtle energy of the sixth chakra. And And it does the same thing to the fifth chakra, because they're higher frequency and they're more subtle, and they're more difficult to discern. And so that what you have is a whole series of practices that have been elucidated and identified by various spiritual traditions of quiet meditation, deep breathing, proper diet, proper exercise programs to keep your bodily functions functioning, in addition to your chakra systems, but also your endocrine system, your dietary system, digestive system, all of those things. That's why there's a major importance on the body that the Hindus in the Hindu religion focuses upon this, of how important it is to care for the temple of your body. This is extremely important, so that the way in which we can deal with the onset of a period like the Trump era is to turn to focusing on our own personal health, our own personal meditation system, our dietary system, etc., and sharing this information with your friends. Not to become a pain in the butt where you beat up on them because they eat a hamburger, or get on them because they watch movies that are kind of violent or even strong sexual themes or something like that. But this fundamental question of how you go about sharing your insight into the higher dimensions of life, and how you go about doing that. There's a long set of discussions that go on about that. They range all the way from 7-day Adventists going around pounding on everybody's doors, or Jehovah's Witnesses, trying to browbeat everybody into doing whatever they think they should, into a saint who basically says nothing to you. They don't browbeat you, they don't coerce you, they don't evangelize you. They just demonstrate in their very being the fact that there is an alternative way of being. And some people argue that that's the most effective and indeed the only truly effective mechanism for communicating the substantive content of mystical experience. So there's a range of discussions that go on about that. That's what the better theology schools talk about all the time. That's why you go to theology school or go to the divinity schools to study about this, to talk about this. But that you have to attend to it yourself. You can't be any more effective in trying to persuade someone else to live a better life than you do. So part of the advocacy has to be the way you live your own life. And so that if you're mean to other people, or you're quick to anger, and you're nasty and acerbic to other people and stuff like that, that certainly is not going to convince them that you know anything about higher consciousness, and so they aren't going to listen to you. No matter what you say about it, they're going to watch what you do. And so the gaining control over your own activities and your own body and your own level of consciousness is a very major part of all this. But I want to hasten to point out that I'm not talking about just going into kind of quietism and saying, when things get really rough, when a Hitler comes to power, or a guy like Trump or something, that you just retreat to your monastery and you sit and meditate in navel gaze. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. What I'm saying is that it just makes more and more clear to us when events like this begin to happen, how important it is for us to attend to our own consciousness and to assist in trying to assist others in elevating their consciousness, so that we can all work together to try to gain support among the regular people in the world for the kind of programs that we're advocating. Because if they find you to be attractive, and they find you to be pleasant and kindly, and that they find this to be a positive experience with you, they're much more inclined to listen to what you say. So that's how I would suggest that people pay attention to doing this thing. But there is a science to all of this, and I would recommend it. For example, Sri Aurobindo is one of the great scholars in this area. Sri Aurobindo was a lawyer he was Gandhi's lawyer, very good, very close friend to Gandhi's, and has written a couple major treatises about this whole thing, about the evolution of consciousness, the direct connection between the energy centers of the chakras in the body and the levels of consciousness. And he was a practicing attorney, actually representing Gandhi in court. And so, of course, Gandhi himself was a lawyer. but so there are people who have written major treatises on these things. There's lots of writing in the Hindu tradition about the direct relationship between the energy systems and the chakras in your body. The Buddhists, of course, tend more toward being kind of quietistic, are less into, writing major treatises on all of this. But there are Buddhist treatises on all of these things. The difficulty is that the secular world, the fourth paradigm, radical materialists, they have a tendency to disparage the entire field of religion and spirituality, attributing to it the source of trouble in the world, that, it's major proponents of different religious worldviews that are in conflict with each other, and so that they disparage the entire religious community, and they set it up as the antipode to the scientific worldview, and consider it superstitious and zany activity. It's not, and therefore I think that you have to get past that kind of shaming, if you will, or denigrating of your intelligence if you actually start becoming interested in the spiritual realm. But you have to make it clear that your interest in the spiritual realm is not an abandonment of the public realm, of the public policy realm, of the political realm. You're acknowledging that it's important for you to pay attention to your spiritual life and to assist others in their spiritual life is not a complete alternative to the practice of the spiritual values. For example, I would recommend that everybody who's listening right now, you go on the internet, and there's a book that's called, and I'm not proselytizing on behalf of Catholicism, but there is a thing called Catholic Social Thought. It's a book. It's a small booklet called Catholic Social Thought. It's written by a bunch of guys, 3 or 4 guys that are Jesuits, but Peter Henriot is the one you look up, Henriot. Peter Henriot wrote this thing called Catholic Social Thought, Our Best Kept Secret. And what this is it's an articulation over the last 100 years inside the Catholic Church of the basic social translation into public policy positions with regard to certain basic ethical principles and what the source of them are. And they cite various encyclicals that have been issued by various popes, like Francis. Francis's most recent encyclical that we've talked about before, back in June of 2015, on the global climate change, pointing out that global climate change is basically the function of a runaway capitalist system, which is in turn predicated upon the postmodern worldview of eschewing any type of reference for right and wrong that have any kind of ultimate reality to them. And so these types of writings are things that people should pay attention to. But that little booklet, the Catholic Social Thought, Our Best Kept Secret by Peter Henriot, is a really good beginning point to surprise yourself to see that the largest religious institution on the planet, which has been guilty, and let's be really clear about this, of terrible wrongdoings in the past with regard to the Inquisition, suppression of women's rights, the latest thing with all the priests, the pedophile priests, all that stuff. It's all true. Just like the United States. The United States is guilty of, invading the Middle Eastern oil fields. It's guilty of invading Vietnam and all the things that we do of racial segregation in the United States and everything else. But there are all kinds of things about the United States that has to do with our Constitution, the concepts of natural law, fundamental human rights, due process of law. There's a whole lot of important good things that can be discerned as part of the United States culture and history. Same thing is true of the Catholic Church. There's all kinds of really good things about it, and it's true of most anyone. It's true of Buddhism. It's true of Hinduism. People who are opposed to this, look at the Hindus. They have this big caste system, and they celebrate, inequality among people. All those things are true. an intelligent and a discerning person is able to discriminate, is to be able to select out of a culture, out of a historical institution, the positive features of that, and bring them together. So I would recommend, sort of for one of the readings of the week, or reading of the month, is Pete Henrio's book on Catholic social thought, or Catholic social teachings, and Henriot, Peter Henrio, and get a look at that and surprise yourself. So what I'm saying is that in response to the question of how do we respond from a point of view of the balancing of our chakras and et cetera, in an age of Trump like this, this is what I'm proposing, is that you think in terms of developing your own spiritual practice, that you figure out how to share this in the most effective way possible, not the most dominating way or aggressive way, but the most effective way possible with your friends and family and fellows that you encounter in different places, and sisters and brothers in different kind of groupings, and that you translate it into social action. You translate it into social policies, and you work on behalf of these policies that are rooted in values that are discernible through the strengthening of the higher vibrational frequencies of the chakras of your human body. That's what this whole process is all about. That's what's going on here on the planet, and so this question about, what does this eighth chakra look like? We've talked about this whole octave of worldviews, and that the eighth chakra is the one that's above the head. That this one, that you've got the sixth chakra at the center of the forehead. We all know the root chakra at the base of your spine, the second chakra in the gonads of the ovaries and testicles, the third chakra in the solar plexus of your body, the fourth chakra in your heart chakra, the fifth chakra in your throat chakra, the sixth chakra between your eyes and the center of your forehead, the seventh chakra at the opening crown chakra, the top of your head. But if you hold your hand directly up into the air and close your fist, up there above your head is an eighth chakra, and it resides at the apex of the energy envelope that is generated around your body by the interaction among all the other seven energy centers, and it generates a penumbra around your body, the interface of all of these different vibrational frequencies. And at the very crown of that whole thing, not to confuse it with the crown chakra, but at the very top of that entire energy envelope or egg that we are each contained in is an eighth chakra. And the question of what that looks like, I've got this major 1,500-page treatise that no one's read actually except me, but I sat down and laid this thing all out about what the various qualities and characteristics are of each of these chakras. Actually Jeremy Tarcher was talking about wanting to publish it, Tarcher Publications at one time. I haven't gotten back to it for some time. The last iteration of it I had was back actually when Obama was running for office the first time, running for the presidency back in 2008. But it's there, and I'm aware of what all those different qualities and characteristics are. It's a little too lengthy to go into at this time, but we'll get to that someday.